The rain poured harder, drumming against the glass windows of Taehyung's penthouse. Jungkook sat on the couch, knees pulled up, his wet hair clinging to his pale skin. He looked small, too small for someone who had been holding himself together for so long. Taehyung stood in the doorway, a towel in one hand, unsure if he should approach. For years, he had convinced himself that keeping his distance would protect them both. But tonight, watching Jungkook shiver, all those walls felt meaningless. "Why didn't you call me?" Taehyung's voice was deep but softer than Jungkook remembered. Jungkook didn't look up. "Because you wouldn't have come." The words hit like glass shattering inside Taehyung's chest. He crossed the room slowly, kneeling in front of Jungkook, his hands hesitating before brushing away a strand of wet hair from Jungkook's forehead. "I would have," Taehyung said, his voice low, almost breaking. "I should have," Jungkook laughed bitterly. "Should have. Could have. But you didn't." "Not for years." Taehyung's jaw clenched. He had been cold, yes. Distant. He thought keeping space would stop his feelings from consuming him. But instead, it had starved Jungkook of every ounce of warmth he had once promised. "I don't want your pity," Jungkook whispered, trying to stand. But Taehyung's hand wrapped around his wrist, firm but not hurting. "This isn't pity," Taehyung said, pulling him closer until Jungkook could feel the heat of his breath. "I've been a coward. But I'm not letting you walk away again." The tension was electric, years of unsaid words, swallowed apologies, and denied longing pressing between them. Taehyung's thumb brushed over Jungkook's damp skin, his voice lowering. "Stay tonight," he murmured. "If you leave now, I might never forgive myself." Jungkook's heart raced. The rain outside felt distant, drowned out by the pounding in his ears. Taehyung's touch was different tonight, less guarded, more desperate. For the first time in years, Jungkook didn't pull away. Jungkook's fingers tightened around the edge of the bedsheet, his gaze fixed on the man leaning against the doorway. Taehyung didn't move at first. He simply watched him with that calm, unreadable expression, the kind that made Jungkook want to run and hide, yet also step closer. "You've been avoiding me," Taehyung finally said, voice low, almost amused. "I'm not." Jungkook's voice caught, but he quickly looked away. "I just don't want to bother you." Taehyung took a slow step forward, his presence filling the room like the slow rise of a storm. "Bother me?" He tilted his head, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. "Do you really think you could bother me?" Jungkook, the nickname hit like a soft punch to the gut. Jungkook's heart stumbled. "You don't understand," he whispered, trying to keep his distance. "Oh, I understand." Taehyung's hand reached out, brushing Jungkook's chin to make him look up. "I understand that you're scared to let me in. But every time you try to close the door, I just want to break it open." Jungkook's breath came faster, his chest tightening. Why? Taehyung leaned closer, his breath warm against Jungkook's skin. "Because I don't give up on what's mine." The words were dangerous. Dangerous because Jungkook knew his heart was already slipping out of his control. Jungkook sat on the edge of his bed long after Taehyung left, his fingers gripping the hem of his shirt so tightly his knuckles turned white. He should hate him. He should push him away. He should remind himself of all the reasons Taehyung was dangerous. But every time he closed his eyes, all he could see was the way Taehyung had looked at him, like he was the only thing in the world worth seeing. The knock on the door was soft but firm. Jungkook's heart leapt before he could stop it. "Jungkook," Taehyung's deep voice came from the other side. Open the door. Jungkook hesitated, biting his lip. I'm tired. I don't want to. The door clicked open before he could finish. Taehyung stepped inside, his dark coat still dusted with rain. He didn't ask permission. He never did. You're avoiding me again. His tone wasn't angry, just calm, which somehow made it worse. I'm not avoiding you, Jungkook muttered, eyes fixed on the floor. Taehyung closed the distance in 2 steps, his hand lifting to tilt Jungkook's chin up. Then look at me. Jungkook's breath hitched. Why are you doing this? Taehyung's eyes softened, just a fraction. Because the thought of you being afraid of me feels worse than anything else. And because, he leaned closer, voice dropping to a whisper, I like you more than I should. Jungkook froze, his heart pounding so hard he thought Taehyung could hear it. You can push me away 100 times, Taehyung said, his thumb brushing Jungkook's cheek, but I'll still be here, until you stop pretending you don't feel the same. The rain had quieted to a soft drizzle, but the air still carried that heavy, damp scent of the storm. The room was dim, lit only by the glow of the small table lamp beside the bed. Taehyung sat on the edge, his elbows resting on his knees, eyes fixed on the floor. His heart was a mess of emotions, anger, guilt, longing, but most of all, fear. Behind him, Jungkook lay curled up under the blanket, pretending to sleep. His breathing was uneven, his shoulders too tense. You're not sleeping, Taehyung finally murmured. There was no response, but Taehyung didn't need one. He stood, crossed the small distance, and sat beside Jungkook. Slowly, almost hesitantly, he brushed the younger's damp hair from his face. You're still mad at me, Taehyung said, his voice low. Jungkook's eyes fluttered open, glistening in the faint light. You don't get to decide when I stop being mad, he whispered, his voice trembling. Taehyung's jaw clenched, but instead of defending himself, he let the words sink in. I know, he admitted. And I'm not asking you to forgive me, not yet. Then what are you doing? Jungkook asked, almost challengingly. Taehyung's eyes softened. I'm asking you to let me stay. Even if it's just here, next to you, without touching, without asking for more. Jungkook's lips parted, the fight in him faltering. Why? Because, Taehyung's voice dropped to a whisper, raw and vulnerable, I'm scared that if I walk away now, I'll lose you for good. For a long moment, Jungkook just stared at him. His chest ached with the weight of everything unsaid. Finally, he shifted under the blanket, making space. Just for tonight, he mumbled. Taehyung smiled faintly, sliding under the covers, careful not to push. The warmth of Jungkook's body was immediate, familiar, and almost unbearable. They lay in silence, the only sound the soft patter of rain against the window. And though neither of them said it out loud, both knew this was the first crack in the wall between them. The rain had stopped, but the scent of it still clung to the night. The city outside was quiet, but inside Taehyung's apartment, the air was charged with everything left unsaid. Jungkook stood by the window, his reflection faint in the glass. He looked tired, not just from the sleepless nights, but from the weight of everything they had been through. Taehyung walked over slowly, each step deliberate, as if afraid Jungkook might disappear if he moved too fast. Jungkook, his voice was low, careful. We've hurt each other. But I can't imagine a life without you in it. Jungkook's eyes softened, but his lips trembled. I was so scared, Taehyung. Scared you'd walk away, that I wasn't enough. So I kept pushing, testing you, and every time you stayed, I thought maybe you really loved me. But then I almost lost you, and I realized, his voice cracked. I'd rather lose everything than lose you. Taehyung reached for him, cupping his face with both hands. You'll never lose me. Not if you don't let go. Jungkook's breath hitched as Taehyung leaned in, their foreheads touching. Then stay, Jungkook whispered. I'm not just staying, Taehyung murmured. I'm building a life with you. No more running. No more testing. We face the world together. Jungkook's eyes shimmered with unspilled tears. He leaned into Taehyung's touch, their lips meeting in a kiss that wasn't desperate this time. It was steady, grounded, a promise carved into the air around them. When they finally pulled away, Jungkook rested his head against Taehyung's chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. It's loud, he mumbled. What did Taehyung asked, smiling faintly. Your heart, Jungkook whispered. Like it's calling my name. Taehyung held him closer. Then keep listening. Even if the world forgets us, my heart won't. Outside, the first hint of dawn crept into the sky. The world was still the same, messy, unpredictable, full of chaos. But inside their small apartment, Taehyung and Jungkook stood holding each other, certain of one thing at last, this was home.